So guys, this weekend at UFC 312, Indian MMA fighters are returning, and yes, I'm talking about Anshul Jubli. So the reason I'm doing this video is because I realized that quite a few of my viewers are actually from India. So when I was looking at the UFC 312 card for this weekend, I realized that Anshul Jubli is actually fighting an Australian fighter with the same record as him, Quillan Salkilld. So both fighters have 7 wins and 1 loss. Now, correct me if I am wrong, but I believe there are currently 2 Indian MMA fighters signed to the UFC. One is Anshul Jubli and the other is Pooja Tomar. Now, I remember making a YouTube show about Anshul Jubli quite a while ago, around the time of UFC 294, which was like way over a year ago now. And there was this interview that Anshul Jubli did where he talked about Khabib Nurmagomedov and the possibility of being able to beat him. And it all just kicked off in the comments. Now, UFC 294 has been a card that has just literally stuck in my head forever because we had the iconic main event, Islam Makhachev versus Volkanovski, and Islam got that iconic head kick knockout victory over him, and he literally managed to show everybody up. We even had Shara Bullet take the first fight of the night when the arena was barely full, and he managed to get that victory over Bruno Silva. And then at that point, everybody became obsessed with Shara Bullet. So going back to Anshul Jubli, he actually lost that fight, his UFC debut against Mike Breeden, via a knockout in the 3rd round. And the reason why I literally will never ever forget that fight is because I can never get over how Mike Breeden was literally barking like a dog and managed to get that knockout over Anshul Jubli. He was literally barking in his face. If you remember that moment as well, please do let me know in the comments below. Anshul Jubli actually looked good in those first 2 rounds, but that barking dog technique clearly seemed to have worked. So yeah, I definitely do think that Indian MMA is on the rise. I've even seen a few clips of the legendary Herb Dean refereeing fights, being there for face-offs. So clearly Indian MMA means business and they want the best people there to witness it. But do you know what? That actually makes me think back to the UFC 294 press conference. I remember there was a question from the audience about whether the UFC would be doing events in India or something along that line. And of course, UFC President Dana White is always open and willing to putting on UFC events anywhere
in Indian MMA.
But then the crowd in Abu Dhabi was a little bit hostile and they started booing, and it got some of the fighters on stage laughing. I remember Khamzat Chimaev being there as well, and people just started booing, and Dana White literally said,
"Hey, what's wrong with India? What's everybody India for?"
So guys, if you do know, what is the reason everybody was booing? Anyway, could you imagine a big UFC event in India? Honestly, I think it would be so huge. Just imagine like UFC New Delhi or even UFC Mumbai. So yeah, as I said earlier, this weekend at UFC 312, Anshul Jubli will be facing Quillan Salkilld. And both fighters have the same record right now, 7 wins and 1 loss, which just makes this fight way more interesting. So to further celebrate the return of Indian MMA, I just thought I would do a little bit of a fighter profile on Anshul Jubli. So guys, before I start, I'm just going to apologize if I absolutely butcher the pronunciation of anything in this video. So I'm just going to surf the web a little bit and find out as much as I can about Anshul Jubli. So Anshul Jubli is 30 years old and he's from the northern part of India in the Uttarakhand district, which is called Dehradun. So I've just googled Dehradun and it is quite different to how you've seen the rest of India, perhaps on TV or in films. It seems to be quite a mountainous area, and they even get snow there, so that is definitely something different. So guys, if you didn't know, you can get snow in India. So I was reading a bit about Anshul Jubli before, and I know that he moved to Delhi to further his MMA career. So just looking at Anshul Jubli's professional MMA record here, he started his career with Matrix Fight Night, or MFN, and he was very successful there. And throughout all of his time at MFN, he remained undefeated. So I've just done a little bit of research on the side about MFN because I haven't heard of it before, and it's an MMA promotion that is owned by Tiger Shroff, who apparently is the son of a big-time Bollywood actor, Jackie Shroff, and he owns this MMA promotion with his sister. Now, I've never heard of Tiger Shroff before, but I definitely know that the Bollywood scene out in India is absolutely huge. So Tiger Shroff has starred in quite a few films here, but his sister Jackie Shroff is also an MMA fanatic as well, it seems, and they both own this MMA promotion that Anshul Jubli started his career in. So after a very successful time in the MFN, Anshul Jubli entered Road to UFC, and he managed to defeat a South Korean fighter, Kyung Pyo Kim, via a split decision. And then in the finals of the Road to UFC, he managed to defeat Jeka Saragi via a TKO, who is a fighter from Indonesia. So that fight got Anshul Jubli Performance of the Night and managed to secure him that UFC contract. So at that point, he became the second only ever Indian MMA fighter signed to the UFC. So I was looking at who the first actual Indian MMA fighter signed to the UFC was, and it was a fighter by the name of Bharat Kandar. So he lost his first UFC fight via a front choke in the first round, and that was by Song Yadong. Then again, I definitely do think that puts on a lot of pressure on Anshul Jubli to get a win for the guys from India, because Pooja Tomar did get a win against Amanda in her last fight at UFC Fight Night. I realized that she's actually got a fight scheduled against Shauna Bannon at UFC London, which of course I am so excited for. So I'm going to check through Anshul Jubli's socials as well, because I think that social media is always a really good way you can get to know a person better. So just checking his most recent post, Anshul Jubli is here in Sydney, it's fight week, and he's signing posters. If you click on like any of his posts here, you just see so many love heart emojis, so many praying emojis. Like literally everybody is praying for Anshul Jubli. I'm also quite drawn to this post here that Anshul Jubli has with current bantamweight champion Merab Dvalishvili. Merab was creating some absolutely hilarious content out in India. He was out there sightseeing. I remember this video of him trying food. Honestly, it was hilarious. So most of Anshul Jubli's Instagram here is dedicated to videos of him training. So this post here is quite cool as well, because it's like his face with half of a lion's face. And his Instagram handle is King of Lions, and King of Lions is also his nickname. So if you do happen to know the story behind the King of Lions nickname for Anshul Jubli, please do let me know in the comments below. Also, I am so drawn to this post, and it is an Instagram DM that Anshul Jubli wrote to UFC President Dana White back in November 2021, and he wrote, "India is coming, 2023 a UFC fighter, 2026 a UFC champion." And honestly, I just really admire people who just manage to put something like that in a DM to someone big and literally manage to make it come true. I have seen it before, but I just think it is so inspirational. He managed to get his UFC contract in 2023, and he is envisioning in 2026 he will be UFC champion, and that just makes me think that whether Islam Makhachev will still be the UFC's lightweight champion in 2026, whether we could possibly get an Islam Makhachev versus Anshul Jubli fight, I just think that would be so huge. It would literally be Dagestan versus India as opposed to Dagestan versus Ireland, which it has been for so long now. And as we know, Islam Makhachev, the lightweight champion, is always saying that he is looking for the next best contender. He is looking for the next challenge, and he doesn't just want to fight the same people over and over again. I guess we will just have to wait and see how Anshul Jubli does in his fight against Quillan this weekend at UFC 312. Anyway guys, I think I've spoken so much. If you have any more interesting Anshul Jubli facts, please let me know in the comments below. Let me know which fights you're most looking forward to see at UFC 312 as well. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, please don't forget to share and like and subscribe to my channel.